In this video, we're going to round out 1.1 measurements. So it's part 3. We're going to go over the last learning goal for you guys. So I'm going to jump right in and show you what that is. Your goal for today is to become familiar with metric prefixes. So what I've done today is, instead of having a giant chunk of slides, I've actually got me teaching you guys in front of the board. So I'm going to cut to that in just a second. But a couple of things I would like you to do with your notes from here on out. First off, looking at this, please add part 1, part 2, part 3. You can see me pointing to it, to these notes back for the 3. This is just to differentiate. I know they'll be in order in your notes, but this can be so you can refer back to the videos at some point. Also, add the dates right over here on this side of the page where I'm pointing that you've taken these notes. Now, they don't have to be the dates that I've written down here. They can just be the date that you watch the video. All right, so we're going to jump right in to the lesson. So starting off, looking at our example from last video when we compared the English to the SI system, when you guys were seeing that with English, 12 inches in a foot, 3 feet in a yard, so on. SI, the comparative values. What I want you to notice is that the English system has a bunch of different types of units. There's inches, there's feet, there's yards, there's miles. They're all different names. Where the metric SI system has millimeters, centimeters, meters, kilometers. It's all the same unit, but with a bunch of different prefixes that let you know what the value is. So that's what I want to go over in particular. So to start, you're going to take notes from me today on the board, not from some slides. We're going to first just discuss a few basic metric units and some. Not all. So the 3 basic metric units are going to be the meter, the liter, and the gram. And you've probably heard some of these before. You've probably used some of them in a way. We abbreviate meter with lowercase m. Liter can go 2 ways. Some people do capital L, other people do lowercase l. It's fine, whichever you choose. And then gram is with lowercase g. Now, I want you guys to think for a second before I write these down. What do you think each of these measurements measure? Thinking. All right, meter first off. What is the meter going to measure? The meter measures distance. Length. How long something's going to be, how far. The liter is going to measure volume, how much space something is going to occupy. Used a lot with liquids. And then the gram is going to tell us mass, how much of something there is, how much matter. We'll talk more about that when we get to mass versus weight and what the difference is and why they're important in various things. So these are our basic metric units: meter, liter, gram. There are more, but we're going to base off of these. So what happens is, in order to clarify what's going on, think about English system for a second. The units of length in the English system, inches, feet, miles, yards, they're all different. They all represent different distances. There's 12 inches in a single foot. There's 3 feet in a yard. The metric, like we've said before, is easier. It's going to simplify the whole process. And how it does this is we attach a metric prefix at the beginning of these words, and that indicates what's going on. So, let's talk about some metric prefixes. And we're not going to do all of them. There are more, so it's important to note, not all. Not all of them. But we are going to do some of the major ones, the ones that are more commonly used in high school science. So what metric prefixes are is that they are multiplication factors. For all of your basic units. So again, you take a prefix that comes at the beginning of a word, you attach it, and now it changes the meaning. It's still, so if you say you have meter and you attach a prefix, it still is going to represent a distance, but now it's going to be some amount of distance based upon your prefix that you add. We're going to make a table of this, and I'd like you guys to make a table in your notes of some of these major metric prefixes. Not, again, not all of them, just some of them. Now, if you can, use a ruler to make this table. I'm just going to draw really quickly myself. What we're going to have is we're going to have 4 columns. We're going to have the prefix itself. We are going to have the symbol, the multiplication factor, and then finally we'll have an example that I'm going to put as a 4th column, but I seem to have run out of space. So I'm going to just redo this really quickly, scrunch them all together. So the prefix, the symbol, this can be tinier, the multiplication factor, and the example. Hopefully that all fits. Good enough. Awesome. Just like that and like that. So we're going to do 6 in total, but we're going to probably do 2 and then erase those 2 and come back. The first prefix is going to be kilo. So kilo. The symbol that we use for kilo is K. And this is a multiplication factor of 1,000. So what's an example? Well, we kind of said it in a previous one, but 1 kilometer has roughly 1,000 meters, which makes sense. 1 km, I ran out of space at the end right there. Let's just do that again. 1 kilometer, 1,000 meters. A little bit of glare. Sorry about that. Working on proper lighting. 1 kilometer, 1,000 meters. km. So km, kilometer, 1,000 meters, 1,000 meters. Next one is hecto with an H. H is the prefix. Hecto, the multiplication factor, is 100. So 1 hectometer, I want you to take a guess. How many meters do you think are in 1 hectometer? Did you guess 100? You are correct. There's 100 meters in 1 hectometer. Our next one is decameter. Decameter is abbreviated DA. Sometimes you might see it as capital D. I see it more frequently as DA. This is going to be a multiplication factor of 10. So 1 decameter, decameter is going to be 10 meters. See how simple the metric system is? The prefix tells you the answer. The unit at the end, prefix tells you the multiplication, the basic unit tells you if it's length, if it's volume, if it's mass, what have you. All right, 3 more. Our next one is deci. And deci is going to be just the D. So deca had DA, deci is D. The multiplication factor here is a little different. It's 0.1. So what does that mean? Well, that means, I'm going to write two examples here, that 1 decimeter is going to be 0.1 of a meter, 1/10 of a meter. Another way of thinking of this is if you had 10 decimeters, you would have 1 meter. Okay? Cool. After that, we've got centi, which is C, which is going to be a multiplication factor of 0.01. Similar to this, 1 centimeter is 0.01 meters, 1/100th of a meter. And again, another way to think of this is for every 100 centimeters, you have 1 meter. That's why we looked at the other day, a meter stick has 100 centimeters. The last one, remember, if I'm going too fast, pause, write down the notes, and then listen to me. Milli. Symbol, M, multiplication factor, 0.001. An example, 1 millimeter is 1/1000th of a meter. Or for every 1,000 millimeters, you have 1 meter. So those are the basic metric prefixes that we'll be using in this class. Now, it seems like it's a lot to remember, but there is a very simple way that you can memorize this, and I want to show you that right now. Oh no, did I run out of space? I did. No. Let's try that one more time. So what I'm making right now is something called a mnemonic. I'm taking the first letter of all of those prefixes and turning them into a sentence that's going to help me remember this. And the order in which they fall. So the sentence that I've created is, King Henry died drinking chocolate milk. That's so unfortunate. There's gap in the middle is to represent the base unit by itself with no prefix. Because remember, K is going to stand for kilo. Let's use just another pen for this. Kilo, hecto, deca, deci, centi, and milli. So this was 1,000, 110, 0.1, 0.01, 0.001. So this one right in the middle represents exactly 1, or if you were to have no prefix on your basic unit. So it was just meter, or gram, or liter. I want to show you guys one last slide. Do not copy this into your notes. I'm going to give this to you tomorrow as a handout. So taking a look at it, this is some common SI units, both the measurement, the unit, and the value. You're going to end up adding this to the handout section of your binder. But this is going to give you some ideas more of the prefixes and kind of how they work with length, volume, weight, and temperature we'll get to at another day. But you can see unit, meter, kilometer, decimeter, centi, milli. Two that we didn't go over, micrometer and nanometer. As you can see just to the right, the value of them. 1 micrometer is 0.000001 meter, and nanometer is even tinier. So we're going to stay in the realm of closer to just having those bigger number values, not that tiny. But on the left side, it gives you some ideas of what each of these measurements kind of equate to. So 1 centimeter is about the width of a pinky finger. It's not the same. That's not a terribly accurate measurement, but it's good to kind of get an idea on. Volume, 10 drops of water from a little dropper. That's about a milliliter of water. You can see in this one they've used capital L. Like I said, some people will tend to use capital, some will use lowercase. It's a preferential thing. And weight, a large paper clip is about 1 gram, so give you guys some rough thinking of what it feels like. Again, I'm going to give you this tomorrow in class. You'll pick it up when you walk in. But yeah, so that is the end of 1.1 measurements, and I will see you all in class.